Have you ever found yourself wondering why certain men seem utterly captivated by particular women? As if some invisible force is drawing them in, pulling them closer, irresistibly? As if resistance isn't even an option? What is it that these women possess that you've yet to uncover? Today, I'm going to reveal a secret known only to a few. A secret that penetrates the deepest layers of the male psyche. Something so primal, so essential, that once you understand how to wield it, you'll witness a man transform right before your eyes. And no, this isn't about shallow tactics or temporary seduction games. This goes far beyond that. This is something infinitely deeper. Something the great psychologist Carl Jung began to uncover through his profound exploration of the human psyche. Now imagine being able to access a part of the male mind that even he doesn't fully comprehend. A powerful hidden source of energy that, when properly channeled, can spark not just desire, but devotion. Not toxic obsession, but a deeply rooted connection that anchors itself in his very being. And you, my dear, can be the one to channel this transformation. Maybe you've already tried everything. Maybe you've followed advice from magazines, friends, or so-called relationship experts. But still, nothing has worked, has it? Because those methods never go deep enough. They barely touch the surface. They don't reach the core, the sacred core, of the male being. That ancient realm Jung named the collective unconscious. What I'm going to share with you today has nothing to do with emotional manipulation or shallow psychological tricks. It's sacred knowledge, raw and true, about the deepest nature of a man. Wisdom that allows you to reach him on a level that transcends the physical, even beyond ordinary emotion. This is the kind of connection that makes a man think of you the moment he wakes. The kind of bond that allows him to feel your presence, even when you're nowhere near. That rare, soul-deep longing he's never experienced before and won't be able to ignore again. And perhaps the most remarkable part, this power, it has always been within you. It's not something to be learned from the outside. It's something already born into you, your birthright as a woman. You simply haven't been shown how to awaken it, how to access it, how to own it. But that ends today. Today, you rediscover a sacred facet of your femininity, a truth that can transform not only your relationships, but your entire life. And before you assume this sounds too abstract or difficult to apply in real life, let me reassure you. I'll make it clear, practical, so grounded that you can begin practicing it today. And when you do, you'll start seeing changes. Not in months, but almost immediately. Get ready to step into a new realm. A world where the common rules of romance no longer apply. A world where you no longer chase. Where you never beg. Where you stop diminishing your worth just to be seen. This is a world where your very presence becomes magnetic. Where your essence becomes utterly irresistible. A world Jung glimpsed through his studies of the anima and the animus, the shadow and the self. And it's this very world that I'm about to open up to you. But before we go deeper, let me ask you something. If what I've shared so far resonates with something inside you, if some quiet, unshakable part of you feels the truth echoing through these words, then pause and do this now. Subscribe to this channel. And more than that, type the word awaken in the comments. Yes, write awaken. Because it's not just a word, it's an affirmation, a personal commitment to your own transformation. It's your way of telling the universe, I am ready to awaken this dormant force that lives inside me. Unlocking the source of male attraction, the anima and sexual energy. Now, let us continue our journey deeper into the mysteries of Jungian psychology and the sacred way it can reshape every relationship you've ever known. To understand how to channel male sexual energy, we must first understand what Carl Jung uncovered about the human psyche. Jung wasn't merely a psychologist. He was a true explorer of the soul, a cartographer of the unconscious mind. Have you ever experienced that strange, inexplicable connection with someone? That moment when your eyes meet his, and something inside you recognizes him, knows him, as if from another lifetime? Jung called this archetypal recognition, a moment when something within you sees something ancient within him. At the very heart of Jungian theory lies this truth. Every person carries both masculine and feminine aspects inside. In women, that inner masculine is known as the animus. In men, the inner feminine is the anima. And it is right here, inside this dynamic, that today's sacred secret resides. A man's anima, his inner image of the feminine. She's not just a fantasy. She is the woman of his dreams, the sacred feminine who lives deep within his unconscious. And when you, a real, breathing, radiant woman, manage to align with that internal image, magic happens. But how exactly does this relate to sexual energy? You've probably sensed it already. That male sexuality is not merely physical. A man can be attracted to many. But true obsession? That's rare. That only happens when his sexual energy, which Jung recognized as one of the psyche's most potent forces, finds an outlet, a channel, a purpose, and that purpose resonates with his anima. When sexual energy finds purpose, from desire to devotion, imagine sexual energy as an underground river flowing fiercely beneath the surface. When it's blocked or wasted on momentary pleasures, it loses its transformative power. But when that energy flows through a sacred connection, through a woman who awakens his anima, that same current becomes something far more profound. It becomes creative. It becomes inspiring. It becomes, yes, obsessive. And in that moment, it's as if you are holding the key to a door inside him, a door he never even knew existed. The key to a door inside him, a door he didn't even realize was there. And when that door opens, what pours out is not just desire, but something far more enduring, devotion. Let's be crystal clear. This has nothing to do with manipulation. It's not about tricks, control, or performance. It's about cultivating an authentic connection, about creating a sacred space. A space where his energy flows toward you, naturally, effortlessly. Because in that space, you embody something that speaks directly to the core of his being. You represent what resonates with his innermost self. You may have already witnessed this. Some men seem to awaken in the presence of certain women. They become more alive, more vibrant, more present. That's no accident. Those women, consciously or not, are touching his anima. They are awakening a force within him that elevates his sexual energy, turning it into something greater than mere physical desire. The 5 sacred paths to his anima. Through my research and real-world application of Jungian teachings, I've identified 5 distinct and powerful paths. 5 channels through which you can connect with a man's anima and thereby guide his sexual energy into a deeper, healthier, and more sacred form of obsession. The first path is receptive presence. Understand this. The anima is receptive by nature. So when you embody a presence that is both strong and open, not dominating, but profoundly welcoming, you generate a magnetic field that draws him in. Visualize yourself as a sacred vessel, not empty, but overflowing with your own power. He senses this intuitively. He feels safe to pour himself into you. His hopes, his fears, his deepest longings, and most importantly, to be received without judgment. The second path is multi-level communication. The anima doesn't speak in plain language. She communicates through dreams, symbols, and intuition. When you learn how to speak not just to his conscious mind, but to his unconscious, you form a bridge. One that few people in his life have ever dared to build. This doesn't mean you speak in riddles or play games. It means you express yourself through metaphor, imagery, and emotionally resonant language. It means understanding that sometimes silence speaks louder than words, that a glance can carry more truth than a sentence ever could. The third path is mirroring the shadow. Jung wrote extensively about the shadow, the hidden parts of ourselves that we repress and deny. Every man carries this shadow. It contains his fears, his wounds, his shame. When you have the courage to see his shadow without shrinking from it, without judgment or fear, you offer him something rare. You offer him the experience of being seen, truly seen, perhaps for the very first time. And this seeing, this profound recognition, creates a bond that borders on the unbreakable. The fourth path is sacred polarity. Jung understood that true attraction, real soul-deep attraction, comes from the dance between similarity and difference. Of course, shared values and compatible worldviews matter, but they're not enough. You must also keep the polarity alive, the energetic dance between masculine and feminine. This has nothing to do with outdated gender roles or stereotypes. It's about energy. When you fully inhabit your feminine essence, which may show up in countless different forms, you generate a charge that complements and heightens his masculine energy. And finally, the fifth path is initiation into mystery. The anima is inseparably tied to mystery, to the unknown, the unspoken, the sacred. When you preserve the sense of inner discovery, when you foster mutual growth and emotional adventure in your relationship, you don't just hold his attention. You ignite a genuine obsession, an obsession with what the two of you are creating together, an obsession with the mystery of who you are becoming together. All five of these paths are grounded in one core principle: energy follows attention. When you become the focus of a man's attention, not by demanding it, but by embodying a fullness that earns it, his sexual energy will begin flowing toward you, naturally, irresistibly. Understand this. What I'm sharing is not a list of techniques, not a collection of clever words or practiced gestures. It is a way of being, a lived, moment-to-moment presence you cultivate over time. And there's something deeply freeing about this path. You're not pretending to be someone you're not. Quite the opposite. You are returning to the truest version of yourself, the most radiant, complete, and connected expression of who you are. And it is this authenticity that draws him in. This integrated presence is what makes him think of you, even when you're not around. It's what makes him seek closeness with you, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Jung believed that the highest goal of human life was individuation, the process of becoming wholly, authentically yourself. And here's the beauty. It's exactly when you're walking that path of self-discovery and self-expression that you become your most magnetic. It's when you're most deeply aligned with your inner truth that you can awaken and channel a man's energy in its purest form. It's as if the universe responds to your authenticity by sending you relationships that match your frequency, not ones that drain or diminish you, but ones that energize and expand you. And as you start applying these principles in your life, you'll notice subtle but powerful shifts in how men relate to you, not just from the man you may be hoping to attract or reconnect with, but from all men in your orbit. Because what we're discussing here is a shift in your energetic signature. It's as if you begin to emit a new frequency, a frequency that whispers without words. I know the mysteries. I am the mystery. And for a man, especially a man who hungers for depth beyond surface-level encounters, that frequency is the most magnetic one that exists. Your energy is the beginning. Now that we've explored the foundations of Jungian psychology and how they intertwine with attraction, let's go deeper into the specific practices that allow you to actively channel male sexual energy. This is where theory becomes embodiment, where knowledge becomes personal power. And the very first step, perhaps the most vital of all, is realizing that male sexual energy isn't merely about sex. It is a vital, life-animating force. It pulses through every dimension of a man's life. His creativity, his purpose, his drive to build, to protect, to conquer. Jung grasped this fully. He didn't see libido as mere lust or physical appetite. He understood it as the core life force that fuels creation itself, the life force that drives all creation. That is what sexual energy truly is. And when a man directs that powerful energy toward you, what he's really doing is channeling his creative force into your direction. And that, my dear, is far more profound than simple physical attraction. To begin the process of truly channeling his energy, you must first awaken to your own. Yes, you heard that right. Before you can influence his current, you have to know, feel, and fully own your own sexual energy. Many women have been taught to distance themselves from their sensuality, to see sexuality as something separate from their spirituality, their creativity, their essence. But here's the truth. Your sexual energy is not separate. It is a direct reflection of your life force. It is sacred. It is powerful. And when you fully inhabit your body, when you embrace your sensuality not for others, not as performance, but as an act of gratitude, a celebration of your own vitality, something extraordinary begins to unfold. You become magnetic in a way that transcends beauty, transcends charm or technique. Try this simple practice. Each morning, before your day begins, take a few quiet minutes to consciously connect with your body. Feel every inch of it. Appreciate it. Give thanks for its strength, its flexibility, its ability to experience sensation and pleasure. Now imagine your sexual energy as a warm golden light, radiating from your center, expanding outward through your entire being. Do this practice consistently, and over time, your energetic frequency will begin to shift. Men will notice. They won't understand what's different, but they'll feel it. They'll feel a pull, something deeper, something magnetic, creating a safe space for him to remove his armor. The second step is about creating a sacred space for connection. I'm not just talking about physical space, though that too holds power, but rather an emotional and energetic container. A space where a man can take off his armor. A space where he feels free to reveal his whole self. Most men carry this armor everywhere they go. From a young age, they're conditioned to hide their vulnerabilities, to always appear strong, to bury the parts of themselves that fall outside society's narrow definition of masculinity. But when you create a space where he feels safe enough to remove that armor, safe enough to be sensitive, uncertain, even fragile, you offer him something he's rarely, if ever, received. You give him emotional freedom, energetic release, a profound sense of expansion. And here's where the magic unfolds. When a man feels he can be every part of himself with you, he begins to associate that feeling of freedom with your presence. It's no longer just about pleasure. It becomes about liberation. He starts to long for the sense of wholeness he experiences when he's with you. How do you create this kind of space? Through deep, non-judgmental listening, through genuine acceptance, through your ability to see beyond the mask he wears for the world. When he shares something difficult, resist the urge to fix, to advise. Just be there. Stay with him. Let your eyes, your posture, even your silence say, I see you. I accept you exactly as you are. integrating the shadow and alchemy of deep union. Now comes the third step. And this is where transformation truly begins, learning to work with his shadow. As we've discussed before, Jung described the shadow as the collection of parts we deny, the pieces of self we hide from others and from ourselves. Every man carries a shadow. It holds his repressed fears, his unspoken desires, the traits he deems unacceptable. And within that shadow lies a tremendous, often untapped, reservoir of repressed sexual energy. When you learn to recognize and hold space for these shadows, not to manipulate, not to exploit, but to integrate them with compassion and presence, you help him reclaim all that lost energy. Think of this example. He may struggle to express his needs. He may resist showing vulnerability. Why? Because he's been taught that strength means self-reliance, that expressing need is weakness, and holding in that vulnerability, suppressing it day after day, consumes an enormous amount of psychic energy. Now imagine creating an environment where he can express that need, where he can feel supported and not feel weak because of it. You're helping him integrate his shadow, and the energy once used to repress it, it's released, and much of it naturally begins to flow toward you. The fourth step involves understanding projection and reflection. Jung discovered that we often project what we have not yet claimed within ourselves, especially in love. A man will project his anima, his internal feminine ideal, onto the woman he is drawn to. And when you understand the qualities that shape his inner feminine, you can consciously reflect those qualities back to him, not inauthentically, but from a deep place of alignment. So how do you discover what his anima contains? Pay close attention. What fascinates him? What kinds of women, real or fictional, does he admire? What stories, characters, or fantasies repeatedly show up in his imagination? His anima has been shaped by his life, his relationships with women, his upbringing, his culture. But often, his ideal feminine falls into four powerful archetypes: the muse, who inspires him; the healer, who restores him; the Amazon, who challenges him; the priestess, who initiates him into the mysteries. Once you recognize which of these archetypes most deeply calls to him, you can begin to embody and express those energies, not as an act, but as authentic facets of who you already are. And finally, the fifth step, perhaps the most powerful of all, is invoking what Jung called the conjunctio, the sacred union of opposites. This is where the masculine and the feminine come together, not just physically, but emotionally, energetically, spiritually. In the ancient alchemical traditions that influenced Jung, this union, sun and moon, king and queen, was said to create the rebus, the hermaphroditic being symbolizing wholeness. In modern psychology, it is the moment when two people meet so completely, so vulnerably, that something entirely new is born between them, a bond that transcends the sum of its parts. This is the kind of connection that generates not just passion, not just love, but obsession, in the most beautiful and sacred sense, a continual fascination, a deep desire to explore every layer of one another. To nurture this alchemical union, you must learn to work with polarities, to play in the space between giving and receiving, between leading and yielding, between assertiveness and softness, not just in moments of physical intimacy, but in every shared moment of truth. The art of alternating between assertiveness and receptivity, between giving and receiving, between leading and allowing, is the dance of polarities. And this dance creates an energetic field, one that's dynamic, alive, and deeply stimulating to the male psyche. It's as if, through this rhythm, you are constantly revealing new layers of who you are, never fully predictable, never entirely known. And it is precisely this sense of unfolding mystery that keeps the obsession alive. A man never tires of a woman who continues to surprise him, not with manipulation, not with tactics, but with the profound depth of her being. The final element of this transformative path involves the incredible power of shared rituals. Jung deeply understood that rituals are more than habits. They are bridges. Bridges between the conscious and the unconscious, between the ordinary and the sacred. When you create intentional rituals within your relationship, simple, meaningful, consistent practices, you begin to build anchors for a sexual and emotional energy. These rituals don't have to be grand. It might be the way you greet each other, a morning ritual of sharing dreams, a quiet moment of stillness before sleep. What matters most is not complexity, but sincerity and consistency. When both of you hold these rituals as meaningful, they begin to gather power over time. Eventually, the mere anticipation of them triggers an altered state in him, a quiet awakening linked to your shared connection. And even when you are physically apart, the memory of these sacred rituals keeps the energetic bond alive. Sacred bond, self-reclamation, and the final awakening. By practicing everything we've explored, you will step into a transformation that goes far beyond attracting or even creating healthy obsession in a man. You will begin to witness the transformation of your inner world, and the relationship you long to build will begin to mirror that change. This is the brilliance of Jung's approach. It doesn't divide love and self-growth into separate pursuits. Instead, it fuses them into one path, the path of individuation, the process of becoming wholly and truly yourself. And here lies a truth that few women truly grasp: the ability to channel a man's sexual energy. It is not a power you hold over him. It is a power you awaken within yourself. As you become more conscious of your own energy, as you learn to fully inhabit your body, to embrace your feminine nature, including your shadow as well as your light, you begin to radiate something undeniable. You become magnetic, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. This stands in direct contrast to the superficial methods of attraction that flood our culture. Methods rooted in performance and games. This, instead, is about radical authenticity, about full, grounded presence, and about real soul-level connection. And the results of this kind of presence are transformative on every level. First, you'll notice that men begin to respond to you differently, more attentively, with deeper respect and stronger presence. Even if they can't articulate it, they will feel it. They will feel that they are in the presence of a woman who knows her own power. Second, with the man you are drawn to, the one you long to attract or reawaken, you will begin to see unmistakable signs. His energy will begin moving toward you. He'll seek your presence, not just for physical reasons, but for your wisdom, your perspective, your very essence. You will become more than desired. You will become inspiring. You'll notice how he comes alive around you, how creativity sparks within him, how something long dormant begins to stir again. He won't just want to be with you. He'll want to grow with you. The relationship will shift, becoming a shared journey of evolution, a sacred space where two people explore consciousness together. And yes, desire will grow, but not just surface-level desire. A deeper yearning will take root, a yearning that moves through all levels, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. It won't burn out quickly, because it is fueled not by novelty, but by soul recognition. What we're describing here is nothing less than the transmutation of lust into love, of attraction into devotion. The kind of Jungian mystic poets speak of when they describe the lover and the beloved as reflections of the divine. This bond is sacred, not because it is free from difficulty, but because it is a place of continuous revelation, a mirror through which both souls are unveiled. Jung believed that when approached with awareness, romantic relationships can become the most powerful catalyst for both psychological and spiritual awakening. In the mirror of the other, we discover parts of ourselves we never would have seen on our own. And when a man finds in you not just a partner, but a portal, a doorway into the deeper layers of himself, the connection becomes transformational. When your presence helps him reconcile the opposites within, his animus and his anima, his logic and emotion, his strength and tenderness, then the obsession he feels toward you isn't toxic or destructive. It's regenerative. It heals. It uplifts. It transforms. But we must also speak honestly about the challenges on this path, because like any process of deep transformation, this journey isn't without discomfort. When you begin working with these powerful energies, both within yourself and in connection with another, you will stir the unconscious. Old memories may surface. Dormant patterns may reawaken. Wounds you've long buried may come back into view. And the same will happen for him. That's why compassion, for yourself and for him, is not optional, it's essential. That's why I've emphasized the need to create a space of radical safety. A space where vulnerability is not judged, but honored. Because the goal here isn't to create the illusion of perfection. It's to build a connection grounded in authenticity. One that holds all parts of who you both are. True power lives inside that acceptance. Another challenge that may arise is energetic imbalance. As you begin to awaken and harness these deep forces, it becomes crucial to stay anchored in balance and integrity. This is not about dominating another, nor is it about surrendering your power to be dominated. That's why self-care isn't just recommended, it's foundational. That's why every single practice I've shared begins with your own awareness, your own grounding, your own sense of inner wholeness. Because the kind of obsession we are cultivating isn't built on dependency or power struggles. It's rooted in mutual recognition, mutual celebration, shared elevation, and finally, it's important to recognize this path is not for everyone. It requires courage. It demands a real, unwavering commitment. It calls you to face the truths you've avoided. About yourself, about him. It asks you to be emotionally naked, to take risks, to let your heart be seen, to look at the man not as a solution to your longing, but as a complex being with his own oceans of depth and mystery. But for those brave enough to take this journey, the rewards are far beyond what most ever experience. Not just in love, not just in intimacy, but in the realm of self-knowledge, in the embodiment of true self-acceptance, in the birth of authentic connection. Because ultimately, this isn't about how to make a man obsessed with you. It's about how to create a conscious field of love, where both of you can grow, where both of you can rise. It's about transmuting sexual energy, perhaps the most potent force in existence, from something that divides or exploits into something that unifies and elevates. And here's the most extraordinary part. As you learn to channel his energy, you begin channeling your own. You begin amplifying your own presence. You reclaim parts of yourself that were silenced, shamed, or forgotten. You recover a vision of the feminine that isn't trapped by outdated roles or reduced by cultural definitions. You begin to remember. You remember the ancient wisdom that has always lived inside you, in your blood, in your bones, in your soul. And in this act of remembering, in this sacred return to yourself, you don't just become irresistible to him, you become essential to his journey, just as he becomes essential to yours. This mutual transformation, this sacred echo, creates a bond that endures beyond time, a bond that deepens as the years pass, that continues to fascinate, to inspire, to evolve. Long after the initial spark has faded, this is the relational alchemy Jung envisioned, a sacred space between man and woman, where both are willing to do the inner work. And this is the potential I invite you to explore. Start today, with clear intention, with an open heart, with a courageous spirit. Because in the end, your deepest power of attraction is not in what you say, not in what you do, not in what you wear or offer. It is in who you are, when you are fully alive, fully present, fully connected to the living source of your own feminine energy. It is that radiant presence that makes a man feel he has found. Not just a lover, not just a companion, but a destiny, a home for his soul. If this message resonated with something inside you, if it sparked that deep, undeniable yes, that knowing that rises when truth is spoken, then share this video right now with the women in your life who also deserve to know this sacred power that lives within them. Because sharing this wisdom isn't just connection, it's sisterhood, it's mutual elevation. And don't stop here. This is only the beginning of your journey. The next step is already waiting. Click the card now appearing on your screen and step into what's next.